Here we are. We've made it. Episode 40 of the Two Russells podcast. What was a little dream, a little thought. Personally, for me, I'd like to do a podcast one day. People say you should do it. You should do it. You should do it. I was well out of my comfort zone in trying to do it, and then Russell, you said I want to do one as well, and now you do about 40.
Yeah, look, we are where we are, and it's incredible, isn't it? And it's been a joy, I have to say. And hopefully people like the dynamic. I mean, you say that you didn't know what you were doing. That definitely doesn't come across, because you definitely do know what you're doing. The Russells thing was always
got an interview on Talk this afternoon. Maybe. Yeah.
Shit, I can't be having that. The Russells thing was a coincidence. The two Ronnies little kind of bit at the end and all that, which is our kind of hat tip to comedy. Look, hopefully this has been enjoyable for you as an audience. We know it's got a decent following. You and I get stopped all of the time by people that say it can be entertaining, it's informative, and above all, people have been inspired by some of the amazing journeys and the amazing people that we've had on the chair here. And so, look, I'm personally really proud of this. So well done.
Yeah, thank you. Well done you. And thank you to everybody who sat in the chair, and to everyone that keeps subscribing and following. Please carry on doing that. And some great comments on Sarah Pascoe. What a story Sarah had.
She's pretty cool about her meteoric rise. To be the first,
just an MD,
first managing director of a house builder. Has come back, and just keeps popping back up as sales and marketing director, MD, and so on. Very knowledgeable, very humble, and actually, I just found her brutally honest about such things as can Angela Rayner actually achieve this house builder's target? She said no. I mean, you just don't get that from PLC. PLC
the honesty.
Employees. Yeah, that was really refreshing. So yeah, thank you to Sarah.
Yeah. And so we move on to today's guest. For episode 40, please welcome to the podcast Kim McGinley, owner of Vibe Finance. And as I read in your bio on LinkedIn, a mortgage industry rule breaker.
What does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean?
That was even on there.
So what rules have you broken, Kim?
I just don't conform to the norms, really. I was probably using LinkedIn for personal use. I was showing my personal brand on there, my personality, when people said, no, just keep it business, you're a director now.
Did you get the old, don't use this like
this
Facebook?
Isn't Facebook, exactly that. So, and I've ignored all of it, really. So, I show my vulnerable side and fun side.
And you see that as all being part of the personal brand, because personal brand, as you and I have talked about, is super important, isn't it? I think as a figurehead, as the face in front or behind the brand, I think you do it particularly well on social. I think because you're doing it consistently and regularly, but you're pretty real, aren't you? And I want to, in fact, the main reason that I asked you to come onto this is because of an incident a few months ago.
I was going to come on to that because we don't have any guest bookers here. So we're booking guests ourselves because of people we know of in the industry, people who talk to us at events, and things we see. And one of the things you saw, Russell, was Kim putting out on a post about freezing and a panic attack at a conference. Now,
and there's a context here. So Kim and I know each other a bit, right? So we've presented a couple of awards together. We see each other at industry events, and I see you a lot on social media. So when I saw this post, which was a real kind of an admission, I suppose, which is really unusual generally, but particularly in the property industry, it could have been seen as almost an admission of a meltdown, almost, and some might say, that was a bit of a show of weakness. But you didn't put it across like that, and I didn't see it like that. I didn't even see it as a cry for help. I mean, maybe your best place, rather than me describing what I saw, to explain what happened and then why you posted about it.
Yes. Okay. So I get invited to speak a lot, and it's always been one of my things that I got told great bit of advice when I first launched, being a female in a male-dominated industry. If you are asked to speak or you're given opportunities where you can use your voice, always say yes, even if you think you can't do it. So I've always had that. I can't say that public speaking is completely comfortable for me, because I trip over my words. I'm not very eloquent, in placing my words and things like that. So, but I'll always do it. And so I've done loads of it in the last 7 years. And then recently I was invited to this retreat for girls in property. And so I'm in a room full of amazing women. I'm one of the last speakers, the graveyard shift as well.
Right. How many people in the room?
There's about, I'd say 90 women in the room. Okay. So
decent audience.
Not the biggest crowd that I've done in front of, but I didn't feel any nerves. Sometimes you can get a bit like, oh God, breathe and all this, you're getting up there in a minute. So I didn't feel any of that. But the minute I got up there, Even now it blows my mind. Like, it was like my breath had just been taken from me.
Are you feeling
my
a bit
heart
anxious
was
talking about it now?
It takes me back to that moment because I'm a very visual person. So yeah, my breath was going. And all I remember in the hour that I had to do this talk was just in my mind.
That's a long time to talk.
Yeah, I know. So thank God I had my presentation there because that was guiding me a lot. And I've got a natural way of going off on a tangent normally, but I was literally sticking to what was on there. And I remember the women looking back at me, and the organizer was at the front, and in my mind I'm thinking, I'm so sorry. Like, part of me wanted to run.
Because what? So you're having a panic attack?
I just couldn't regulate my breathing. I couldn't fixate on what I wanted to say.
And this is not just walking up to the stage. This is
so he hands me the microphone, and it just floored me. And I was so caught by surprise that, because, I'm 40 now and I am perimenopausal, and people look at you and they think you're too young. You can't be going through all this stuff. But there are so many changes going on that this, I think, is absolutely one of them. And I don't know how long this is going to go on for. So in that moment, the way I run my socials is that I will always try and put it out there so other women or men might relate to me. So yesterday, for example, I had an off day. I was on my stories. I was in London and I did a story. And the amount of messages from men and women saying thank you. Because
so hang on, what was the story that you said specifically?
I was just having an off day. I was having a hormonal day.
And what does an off day look like to Kim McGinley?
Tired, didn't want to do anything, not motivated.
Lonely?
In a sense, yeah. I was kind of glad to come to London on my own and spend that time on my own because I felt like I was just a drag.
You have a series of meetings, or is it?
No, I just knew I had to get to London for an event last night.
Right, okay.
But I just, even at hitting the gym, I was just lacking motivation, just feeling just really hormonal.
But then you post about it, which is unusual.
And then because
most people are posting on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram how brilliant they are.
Yeah.
Look at my new car. It's not really their car.
Yeah.
Look at my new house. Look at my fantastic business. I've got 8,000 employees. I made £1 million last month. You're much more authentic and real. Yeah, pie charts.
Because it's so important to me. I promised myself when I went on social media, yes, I will celebrate my wins. And some people think that that's braggy or too confident or whatever. They'll always have their opinions. But actually, where I feel like I treat it like my diary. I really do. And I don't mind showing that side to me. Never have done.
Well, I think you'd be real. And
exactly.
You do build absolute trust.
Because it's smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
People compare themselves to people on social media. And I don't want to be that person that just posts the good stuff, because running a business is so up and down. But when you do post that you're having an off day, people are like, oh my God, are you okay? And I'm like, this is normal. This is normal stuff that goes on behind the scenes.
But not on social media.
Yeah.
Because it's so
Instagram
unusual.
versus reality.
Because it's authentic, And do you see it as therapeutic in some way to post about
I do,
it?
weirdly,
it's like journaling.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't mind it. I feel like I'm just talking to no one really, but
Have you ever had a bad response from someone that says, well, I thought you were full of shit anyway, so I'm glad you're having a bad day?
Do you know what? People are happy to tell me that to my face, actually, when I meet them at industry events, because what they say is they'll go there with a perception when they meet me. For whatever reason, they might not like me popping up all the time on their feeds. They're like, do you know what? We really like you. Like, you're quite good fun. I'm like, but what gives you that impression on socials? I just think, you either get it or you don't, and you're never going to please everyone. So, but yeah, that means a lot to me. So when people do meet me, but I do feel like I am me on there.
So how did you get through that hour? So you're having a panic attack through the whole hour.
Do you
remember what happened, or is that now?
Not really. It was a bit of a blur.
Yeah.
Got
like
to the
that journey
Q&A.
when you drive somewhere and you don't know how you got there. Yeah,
that's what it felt like. Because in my mind, my mouth was saying what was on the screen, but in my mind, I was just literally thinking,
"Get me off.
What the hell is going on?" And at one point, I nearly handed the mic back and was going to say, "Can you give me like 5 minutes to go sort myself out?"
You didn't. Why? Because you felt that would be a bit humiliating.
Because I feel like if I let myself go there in that moment I felt uncontrollable. Like, could I get that back if I then went out the room, had a breakdown, cried, to then walk back into the room and do it again? I just felt like either it would ruin the day for them. We're on a strict timeline.
So you had to push through it.
Yeah, and by the time it got to the Q&A, I really settled into it. So when they were all asking me questions, by that point, I was fine again. But I just look back at that day being quite pivotal for me, just that feeling of being out of control.
Did anyone notice?
No.
Isn't that interesting that you think in the moment as an individual that everyone must realise, and that makes you even more panicky, but actually no one does.
There's the thing about panicking about public speaking, isn't it? Well, I remember doing training and coaching and being trained that you are so worried about, I didn't cover that, or I didn't cover this, but no one knows what you're going to present anyway.
No,
so you've just got to look at the back of the room, isn't it? Look to the back of the room, and do your stuff, and hopefully, you'll feel good about it. But to get through it is really tough.
And I think because I've taken on so much this year, too much, once again, that particular morning I'd woken up in the hotel room because I stayed the night before, and I was working from like 3 till 5, which isn't normal for me anymore. So I do think as well, I've got to be very strict, which normally I am, but I think maybe that lack of sleep, that just being out of sync. That
also, I think hotels are shit, aren't they? I mean,
that's the other thing. I never sleep well in another hotel.
No, you travel the country, go to events. Everyone thinks, well, glamorous life.
Do you think part of it maybe was? Did you feel that perhaps you didn't prep enough?
It could well be an element of that. 100%.
And then you panicked, not because you weren't prepared, but because you think, I'm now doing this and I now don't feel that I am prepped enough.
Yeah, maybe, because I've always worked off the fly though. I'm better spontaneous, like in the moment, but maybe where I'm at now is a bit different, that I do need to do that more. 100%. Yeah.
So that's where we are today.
Yeah.
We'll talk about vibe towards the end, but let's go back. Where did it all begin? So where did it all begin for Kim McGinley?
So I left school and I loved singing and acting.
Okay.
Another one.
Oh, yes.
We have a procession of actors and performers. I didn't know that. No. Really?
Yeah, I loved it.
Russell will have you on the Admiral Duncan crew soon for the karaoke. He'll have you in the karaoke club.
Oh, God, I'm there. So I left school, went into college, and realised very quickly that I wasn't just going to leave college and become an actress or a singer. And I wanted to start making money. So I left college, dropped out after like 3 months, and I ended up working with my friends at Santander.
Okay.
It was just kind of a local job, full time.
Just in a bank branch?
Yeah. In a bank branch, on the customer service lines. So kind of starting at the bottom, trying to work my way up.
Was this in
UK?
Whiteley
in Hampshire.
Okay.
So that's where they had their main head offices. So it was Abbey National back then, I should say.
Get the Abbey habit.
Yeah. So that's how I fell into the mortgage industry. Actually, when I started there, I was part-time doing a hairdressing apprenticeship. So I wanted to get a kind of trade. Again, in between doing that, I realised I wasn't going to earn the money that I wanted to earn being a hairdresser. So then I went full-time at Abbey National, and I've never left the mortgage industry other than in 2008, obviously made redundant, 3 months pregnant, absolute worst time of my life, I thought. Wow. I loved it. Didn't realise how much I loved the industry until it wasn't kind of there. And then I sold boxes and tape for 2 years. I worked for a local packaging company.
Boxes and tape.
Do you know what was the easiest job I've ever had? Because I was a business development manager.
What, people are moving and...
No. So warehouses, you got your warehouses. So for the packaging of their, let's say, like clothing lines, or God, I had so many clients. It was a really easy sell in a way because... Oh, I'm just going to say this. It sounds awful though when I say it. I'd put my new business dress on. I'd go knock on the warehouse doors and I'd talk to the guys there and sell this packaging, and we'd get the big contracts and stuff like that. And then I had a phone call from my ex-manager at Interbay Commercial, and they said, we're kind of reopening the doors. Would you come back as a lending manager? And I was so excited to get back in the industry. And then...
So you realised that tape and boxes were not as fulfilling.
I'm not going to knock it.
Be.
None of it's sexy, is it? Mortgages or boxes and tape, really. But I enjoyed the role. It got me through those 2 years between 2008. Yeah, 100%. They phoned me. I went back, joined the corporate world again, helped to set up the commercial arm at Hampshire Trust Bank. So then I moved to London. I came to London commuting twice a week. And long story short, I've been working with brokers all my life, and I just saw this opportunity to use all of that experience that I had working for the lenders to do something on my own. And my daughter was only like a few months old, and my son was quite young at the time. But this is my mentality. Failure was never an option. So I was all in. Right. And that was when Vibe was born.
So you saw a gap.
Yeah.
What did you see that you could do differently and better than perhaps the brokers that you were engaged with at that time?
I got to see the good, bad and the ugly, being honest with you. I worked with some amazing brokers who are still my friends now. They literally welcomed me with open arms, which really surprised me because I just thought, oh, she's my competition now. We're not going to talk to her. But it was so supportive. But I did get to see the bad side. It's an unregulated business, so you don't have to have
what? Give us some juicy examples, Kim.
Poorly submitted deals, deals where they didn't really care about the client and they just wanted the proc fee. No, I wouldn't say mortgage fraud that I can remember.
I won't divulge my mortgage writing from 1990 to 95 and what we used to get away with. But there we go.
Well, yeah, I was
made up pay slips, all that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, that is there, but but no, it's more to do with the lack of customer care that I saw, and I saw the proc fees they were getting paid, and I thought, you know what, I could do this. Like, I've had this lending background, I know how to submit to the lenders. And it's such an incestuous industry. All my relationships, thank God for never burning my bridges, has now been amazing for us.
So how old are you at this point then? So you're
40.
married, 2 kids.
Yeah.
So, so how old were you when you started the business?
Yeah.
What's that, sorry?
When you started the business, you were how old?
I was, oh my God, so I've been doing it, so about 30, I was 33 years old.
33.
You're juggling 2 children, starting a new business. Your husband's got his own business or he's working for someone?
No, he was working on site, plumber, carpentry, things like that. So he was full-time. So
you got a lot to juggle?
No, we both went self-employed at the same time. He then ran his own plumbing business and I was doing Vibe.
So do you mind me asking, how does that conversation go? So, you're married, presumably fairly comfortable, 2 young kids.
Yeah.
And over the breakfast table one morning, you say, yeah, sod that. I don't really want to be working for anybody anymore. I can do this better. I'm now going to take the jump, the risk, and that's the word, by doing this for myself. He's also doing a similar thing in terms of, I mean, how does that conversation go? Do you just kind of shrug it off, I'm sure this will be fine? Or how deep does that conversation have to go that 2 of you are going to embark on a self-employed career?
We've been together since I was 16. Been together a really, really long time. And this is who I am. And he literally... he knows how hard I work and that I would make it work. So we never really saw it as an issue. Of course, it was a big jump and it was like, okay. And I was like, I'm going to make this work. And there was never a question. So, and that's who I need in my life because I'm very spontaneous.
So you need someone to ground you a little bit.
I do. He's the yin to my yang. Like he's too chilled out. I'm the polar end of the scale.
Go.
Yeah. And I talk about this a lot now, actually. So I'm not diagnosed ADHD, but I have 100% got ADHD.
Because you're a million miles an hour?
The traits are insane.
Well, you might just be a typical entrepreneur that likes risk, excitement,
you might be
big shiny things.
I think it's a mixture of everything, but trust me, the traits are
there.
Everyone else can see it, but as well. But,
so in our industry, whether it's, recruitment to an extent, but certainly estate agency and the mortgage and the conveyancing sectors, when you go out on your own, there's a huge gap between making that decision, starting the business, getting your first client, and then getting paid. How did you cope with that? And the reason I'm asking that is, again, because
to inspire
we know that there are people watching this and think, you know what, I'm a broker, I'd love to do this on my own, but how do I bridge the gap where I'm not going to earn any money for 6 months? Did that not bother you?
No.
Or maybe you're a millionaire already, I don't know.
No, I wasn't. I didn't have a startup fund. I didn't have, a pot of money there. I had to make it work. But
so how do you make it work? Because
it's me. I literally go 100 from execution, from an idea. So recently I launched the academy in the specialist finance industry, and the lady that was consulting me at the time, because I've never done an online membership, it was all new. She said she'd never worked with someone like me because I was always 10 steps ahead. She had to keep reeling me back in because by the time I met her again, she's like, I can't believe you've done all of this.
Yes.
I've got people that just procrastinate and they just think about it and they're like questioning.
And you're just running and running and running.
I'm like, I was going to say a sprinter then. What's his name?
Usain Bolt.
Yes, yeah, that's me, but in the mortgage sense. But I wouldn't say that's always a good thing because...
I was going to say, can you get to a point where you're running too fast, do you think?
Yeah.
Maybe you leave some detail behind.
Yes.
Maybe... you expand too quickly. That can definitely happen.
But do you have someone in your team that looks after you?
My
on that
team
side
are
of it,
amazing. So I'm not in
strengths
much.
and weaknesses.
Yeah, and I've had to really focus on what life's too short, right? And, I want to be doing things that I love doing. And I know that what I love doing is the personal branding, the growing the brand of the businesses, all of that stuff I love. I love meeting people, doing things like this. And there's definitely tasks where I feel quite restricted. And I'm not one of these people. I'm a true Capricorn. The way my brain works, I I can't be in like a set routine all the time, which is why being an entrepreneur works for me. But it's also led me to delegate. I'm very good at being very self-aware. So in situations where I'm not always in the right, I've failed so many times and I've learned from so many things running a business, situations, that the growth is always happening. And my team are amazing because they do ground me. They know they can be honest with me. And
how big is that team? How is that?
There's only 7 of us. So I've just taken on, that's including a guy in the Philippines for the first time, and he's incredible.
Was he a VA?
VA for social media for the brands, so not my personal, but he's incredible. But yeah, so there's 6 of us here in the UK.
Right,
Yeah.
fantastic.
So how do you balance being a parent and particularly a mum? I know I always risk getting into trouble when I talk about this.
Okay.
But we've had guests on in the past that are entrepreneurs and are mums. I maintain that it's harder for a woman to be an entrepreneur because she has a much more natural maternal instinct in terms of, who are we talking to this about? Gemma Young.
Yeah.
Gemma, who's very, very grounded, said to me 6 months ago, 12 months ago, I would have really told you off for suggesting that there's a difference. She said, but now I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a mum of 2 boys. I get it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a similar question. How do you, as a mum with arguably more parental responsibility for kids, just because you're a female and you have that maternal instinct, that maternal responsibility, how do you juggle it all?
It is a continuous juggling act. And the freeing time for me has been, I'd say, the last year, where there is no balance. There is no such thing as work-life balance.
Just
it's a load of crap. Yeah. It's just prioritizing what is right in any given moment.
Well, and you're having to do it in the moment.
Yeah.
Right.
So sometimes my business is getting more of me because it needs it. And other times my family come first. And then I'm dropping some balls maybe over here.
But do you ever stop one day and think, I haven't really seen the kids properly for 3 or 4 days?
Yeah.
And you make a conscious effort to say, sorry, I'm not answering those emails for half a day.
Yeah.
I'm not available. I'm taking the kids out.
Good at this.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that there's that balance. So when somebody says to me, do you believe or have you got the work-life balance? I'm like, absolutely not. No one has. But yes, there are times where I've had to set boundaries. Boundaries are my biggest thing this year, and they have protected me as well. So I will just be like, the thing that I do struggle with, like I think most business owners do, is being present.
Yeah.
So I will be like, right, I'm not going to do work, and I'm going to sit here, and my daughter will look at me, she's like talking to me, Mummy, you're not listening.
So you're there,
But you're not there. Yeah.
Or does that make you feel guilty?
Yes.
Yeah.
But again,
How old are your kids?
So my daughter Emmy, she's 11, and my son is nearly 17.
Okay.
So they're older, they're more aware.
Do they tell you off?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. And sometimes I need to hear it because I'm so in the moment, I'm so in the zone. But guilt's just something that I carry now. I don't think it's something that you just stop feeling guilty about. I'll always feel guilty, but I'm working so hard to hopefully get to a point where I want time freedom.
Because I think if you try and keep everyone happy at work and keep everyone happy at home, the person that becomes unhappy is you. So that total blend of, I went through a course many years ago where it was like, look, make life your work and work your life, and just make it a complete blend. Yeah. And it's just your life. It's what you do. And I see that in what you do, or you see it in some of the things that I do. And one of the things that struck me as we first met today, as I said hello to you, is that you've read a book that I read in March of this year, which was from Mel Robbins, who would have been floating around Talk Radio and Virgin Radio on Friday. I think she was on the Chris Evans show, and then she was in the West End doing a talk. And I read that book in March and was just like, wow, this is so good, which brought me back to some things I did with Stephen Covey on circle of influence and circle of concern. So just focus on your circle of concern. So I'm reading this book, Let Them. And I'm reading this through and I go, wow, wait, that's very good. I do that. I need to stop doing that. I need to stop worrying about that. And then I turn the page and Mel Robbins is saying, I didn't realise how well the book was going until I would start getting sent pictures of tattoos where people have had the book title tattooed on them.
Why have they done that?
And I see, Kim, that you have a Let Them tattoo. So
can you just hold it up so that we can see it?
You didn't just read the book.
I fully embraced it.
You fully embraced it, and it's not been out for long. So talk through what brought you to that? And then, Russell loves Ferraris, but I don't think he's got a Porsche. I don't think he's got a Porsche.
No, I've got a Ferrari and a Porsche crest on my chest.
I don't think
I haven't.
have you?
So why did it have that impact? I mean, so much so that you would have a tattoo put on your
I mean, it's been I think just hitting 40, right? You hear about midlife crisis and things like that. You do feel different though, don't you? And not that I'll
let you know when I get to 40.
But so I think it's a combination of that. It's growth as a business owner. Like I said, you unless people have been through it, it's really hard to explain what being a business owner is actually like. It is very isolating. Your relationships change.
That'll fail. She won't succeed.
Yeah. Other people's noise and opinions.
Yeah.
So this book came into my life, I'd say, at the start of this year. And just reading it was transformational for me, that I could let things go, that I can just do me.
So what's the premise of the book? Because I don't know it.
It's basically, in essence, you are never going to change how other people react to you, how they are. And when you actually understand and appreciate that, it's not just the let them part, but it's the let me set boundaries, let me do me, and just not worry about it.
Vicky Bibris at the Women Estate Agency, this was a big part of her talk around, let them, let me.
Exactly. And for me, I've had some very key, big relationships in my life fall away. And this has just helped me to just let it be and just move on.
So I understand, just to push you a bit, I understand that the book might be really compelling.
Yes.
But the tattoo, I mean, that's a big step.
That's part of probably my midlife crisis era. But honestly, these two words, I say it every day to myself: let them, just let them.
Yeah.
But let me.
So you got that there. I mean, as a catalyst, as a reminder to make sure that you still live by the premise of the book, right? So it's that important to you.
Yeah, it is, because I'm a people pleaser. I like people to like me, and I think embracing what this means, because you can't please everyone, it just, it really hit home with me massively. So I saw her live on Sunday as well.
Did you?
I went to that. Yeah, it was brilliant.
So when people talk about books and people, mentors changing their lives, do you think that book's changed your life?
Yes, I do, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It's changed your mindset?
I can accept so much more now. You're never going to change anyone as much as you'd love to. And
it's a fascinating story at the beginning, isn't it? With the children at the prom, and he hasn't put the table. It's going to be in the rain, and it's her daughter that says, "Just let them get on with it, Mum. Let it go, let it go." And it's very, very, very
letting
good.
things go.
Just let them.
Just don't be a control. Focus on you.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to do. You're standing on stage. I'm going to go and present. I'm going to present my speech.
Like, I've got a great way of putting myself last on my list of people to look after. Obviously, I've got my team on there, my family, my kids, my husband, trying to be a good friend. And I'd be like down here. So using this is allowing me time and space to be like, do you know what? I do need to look after myself a bit more as well. I need to put myself higher on that list. I have to. And it's something I'm working really hard on.
And they talk about in the book and about choosing your friends. Let some friends go. Yeah. Let them go, because they're not.
And
you said you've had some bad relationships and some things that have not gone as you had wanted. Yeah. How would you have dealt with those differently now you've got that theory?
I think I was hoping they'd change. I was always clinging on to that hope that, relationships break down and you blame them first of all. It was them, they're doing this, blah, blah. Actually, I just think looking at it this way, I keep saying it.
You can't change people.
You can't change people, and it's just accepting that.
Can we probe that a little bit? So, leaving relationships behind is quite a big deal, particularly if they're friends of a number of years. Is it that you outgrew them? Or is it that you became successful as a business owner and they got jealous and there was friction?
Success is different to everyone. And I'm not going to sit here and make out that the last 5 years, I launched my business just before COVID, and it has had challenges, So I just think that I've worked a lot. And it's almost like that becomes you. So when people say, I got so tired of telling people, I'm busy. How's everything going, Kim?
Yeah. So were friends critical of your lifestyle?
I couldn't be there as a friend back to them, now reflecting on it as well. I wasn't very good at being that person, because I was so consumed either by my business, trying to keep it going at times, to then being a mum And that's all I could give to anything at that time. So I do think it's an element of that. I do think it is a jealousy thing for some business owners. They see you as a business owner, and other times you just grow up. They're just not your people. You're different people. And I'm a different person now. I used to beat myself up about that, but I'm not a bad person now. I'm just different to a Kim 7 years ago that would people please.
Do you think you're in a better place now you've left that? And I don't want to be disrespectful to her, but now you've left that baggage behind.
Yeah.
You feel lighter.
I've had to do it to protect myself as well.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's deemed the other side that, Kim just cut off or whatever that might be, but setting those boundaries. And one of them was a very key family member. And that was super, super difficult. But now I understand why I have to protect myself and those boundaries. And be the person that I want to be without asking for forgiveness.
Can you say who that family member was?
Oh, do you know what? Everything else I would, but for this one, I won't.
I'm not going to.
Yeah,
No problem.
I'll tell you after, but no.
Yeah, it's a great book, Russell. Well worth a read. I recommend anybody to have a read of it. It's absolutely fantastic.
Against the grain of popular opinion, I am actually quite, amenable to having my mind changed and maybe the occasional Russell rough edge smoothed, but not that there are many, of course. But yeah, I'll check it out.
Well, one of the other things in my research that I was intrigued on, Kim, was hard hat to heels. So tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, so I also run 2 different women's networking groups. So one of them's in MIPIM. Did you go to MIPIM?
I did hear you were there. We didn't see each other, did we?
It was raining all the time, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. I'm still in two minds about the value of MIPIM.
Okay, so I went for the first time last year. So I'll talk ladies who can first, if that's okay, because that came before the hard hats to heels. So went to France last year, myself and Rosalia, and a friend of mine, and it didn't surprise me actually that there wasn't hardly any women there. But even I found myself with the years of experience that I've got, and I can handle myself in any given situation absolutely fine. But it did still surprise me the conversations that there were out there and the behaviours of some. And I wanted
of men versus women, you mean?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, plus alcohol and the networking.
Mix.
Oh God, I've seen it all. So, I thought, do you know what? Next year when we go back, I want to try to create something for women to feel a bit more safer to go out there. The more women I spoke to, because I asked them, I was like, why don't you go there? Why don't you go there? And they said, it's all the guys are out there. I don't feel safe. And
it's a property stag weekend.
It is known as that a little bit, yeah. But we created Ladies Who Can. I co-founded it with Anastasia and Rosalia, and we launched that in our villa. We had all the women come out and they flew out for that and almost created that safety net for them, that we had a WhatsApp group. They could travel to events together, and it was really lovely seeing that kind of evolve. But don't get me wrong, it was met with a lot of criticism. But I know why we're doing it, and I know why it's
and
needed.
You can let them criticise.
Exactly. So, I love the fact, don't get me wrong, I can't wait for the day that we do not need women's events. Mm-hmm. We have come so far, but we have got so far to go. So if I can use my experience and help to create even a small step towards that, that's what my new passion is.
Do you think the property sector is way behind other industries?
Yeah.
Though?
It's condoned behaviours.
Is it still a misogynistic sector?
Yes. There is something that I will talk about on here because it is important to me. So I found out something last year that really upset me in the industry. So I had known this person a long time. They're very well-known brokerage. They get the awards. He made out that he was kind of being like a mentor to me, like a helping hand. Right. And, Kim, you can talk to me and things like that.
Mansplaining.
Yes. And anyway, he'd arranged to meet me in London for lunch and didn't think anything of it. I couldn't make it in the end. But also I got a couple of weird vibes off Instagram anyway, just messages and things. So I thought, okay. And then I found out in the background that he was telling his team that he was going to sleep with me and, all of this stuff. And I remember being so upset that day. I phoned a very good friend of mine, Alison Horton-Caulfield, strong woman in the industry. She's amazing. And I kind of said, look, this is something that I would love to vocalise on socials, not name and shame, but just talk about it. Yeah, because it's important. And I got told, not by her, but a couple of other people, don't do it, Kim. Like, you're kind of opening a can of worms. And, that is something that I did take on board from others, but I wish I had spoken about it.
Yeah, but how prevalent is that? If there's a situation whereby a man has bad intentions but covers it by way of looking like a mentor or a professional kind of help, the fact then that happens, but women don't speak out about it. I mean, I'm going to be really critical here.
Yeah.
That doesn't do women any good at all.
No.
By, burying that under a bushel, so to speak, and not speaking out. Not necessarily naming and shaming, because I know that there's all sorts of legal implications, but to talk about the fact that, yet again, we've had an incident here where a man has tried to take advantage of, let's say, a professional relationship. I mean, I saw incidents in MIPIM where there were lecherous, drunk individuals that mistook the good intentions of women that were trying to do business, network. They took it as something much more, and it was just so 1970s. It was just so draconian and so boring. One guy rocked up to a girl I was talking to that's an artist, and right in front of me, just walked up to her in the day, by the way, in this villa, and just said, "You've got beautiful eyes," like this. And I thought, what a twat you are. So do you know what I said? What about my eyes, mate? Because you haven't mentioned mine. Why would you mention her eyes, not mine? It does go on, but
we've got to move on.
But the girl I was with was rolling her eyes and so. But my point is, I think women have to speak out more.
Yeah, and I am normally that person. That's why I do speak out about a lot. And this person then came to this MIPIM, came up to me and tried to talk to me. And I walked off, and I was really annoyed at myself because I'm always quite cordial. These are things that I'm working on, but again, I will do everything to avoid conflict and drama in the moment. So again, I don't know if that's a little bit of why I use social media the way I do to kind of offload. But I took a video out there that I will be putting out there soon with examples of things that happened out there. You
saw,
yeah, and it does touch upon this story. And the girls out there at the time said, put it out there. But I just didn't feel like that moment was ready for me to do that. But I will do it soon, because I want to work with lenders that are hosting these types of events to have processes where women do feel safer. So if there's something behaviour going on, who do they go and talk to?
Does it ever work the other way around? Do you get lecherous women, I wonder?
Oh, God.
Leering over men?
100%. Yeah, of course. We've seen drunken behaviour like that.
It's all just about acceptable
standards. And, unfortunately, if a broker's writing enough business, I keep going back to this guy, I see him getting awards still now. And the women that I've spoken to in the background, he is renowned for this type of behaviour.
So it's not just you?
No.
He's prevalent?
No, prevalent.
You sure you don't want to name him?
Oh, I'd love to, but do you know what? I'd rather just. I don't think I'll need to. I think I'll talk about it like on my video and stuff when I release it. But and I'm not going to change who he is. This whole let them let me. But what I will do is use my voice to. Now I feel like in a better moment in time to talk about it, because it also links back to some of the lender events out there, and equally. There are times where I don't get invited to awards now because I'm a bit more outspoken. But the problem is...
blacklisted?
A little bit of cancelled.
Really?
I'm not saying I'm cancelled at all, but I'm known to be... There's been WhatsApp groups set up with me included on it by senior guys in the industry of how to deal with women like us. Because we're outspoken, because we're on social media. But to me, that only shows...
How to deal with women like you that might be whistleblowers on their terrible behaviour.
It goes back to about 3-4 years ago when LinkedIn was kind of coming into its own. More women were coming and being vocal. And there are some incredible women on there. And how to deal with women like us. It just, that in itself shows you how far we've got to go.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait for the years to come. Hopefully, if I can do a little part of encouraging more women in the industry and getting people to speak out.
I know we've got to move on. Here's a very, very quick fix.
Yes.
That is to take the messages that you receive and send them to the man's wife.
Yes, true.
That'll do it.
Yeah. I'm getting questioned all the time, but Hard Hats to Heels, it leads on to that.
Yeah.
So then I was asked to take on a franchise in London. And again, it's just part of my passion now to create inclusive spaces for women to come together because they do need it. So I do Ladies Who Can in France once a year, and I do the monthly networking events.
For Hard Hat Hills in London.
For women in finance, property, construction.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Good. And what's next? What's next, Kim?
No more.
Your mind is racing at 100 miles an hour. How big will Vibe get? What's your plan for Vibe?
I'm loving where Vibe is at the minute, our branding, the hard work that I've been putting in. Like, I do travel a lot. I do put a lot into that business, and seeing us now get opportunities, it's not where I want it to be still. So I'm still very much on my building journey. But yeah, obviously I'd want it to become one of the best known brokerages here for investors in the UK.
And to be clear, you're a specialist. Would you say you're a specialist?
Just specialist.
Buy to let?
Yeah. As long as someone's not going to live in it. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
And how is that market?
great. I think for the people that are on social media, there are a lot of brokers struggling out there. It has been what I love about the industry. You can get together, and like I said, I wear my heart on my sleeve. And other brokers are opening up more now, and they're saying this is the hardest it's ever been to be a mortgage broker and to run a business.
Don't mortgage brokers always say that though?
I don't think
like
so. You hear
conveyancers
about the
and
good
lawyers
days.
always
No,
say the
trust
same
me. I
thing.
mean, writing mortgages even 7 years ago to what it is now, very manual. Like you can't. There's no real such thing as a vanilla deal anymore.
No.
So it's taking a lot longer for cases to go through. And hearing that makes me just proud to be the fact that I've still got a business here. Maybe not where I want it to be still, because I'm always thinking into the future. But yeah, I do. I want it to be one of the best known brokerages, just for service, for everything that we stand for.
Because it's interesting, when I talk to people in agency and property, I get the vibe that there is nobody looking for buy-to-lets or looking investment.
Yeah, but you
How
have
are they
to put
seeing? Are they
yourself
seeing
out
long-term
there.
growth, or are they seeing...
Property's a long game for a lot of people.
Well, rates are dropping, right? Or
Yeah,
have
rates.
dropped.
It's been a little bit volatile still, but I do think you're always going to get those investors that pull back, risk adverse, and you get those ones that see opportunity and adversity, and they'll just keep going and going.
Yeah.
So I think it goes back to, I had a broker message me the other day going, "Thank God me and you are on socials, because that's what's kept our businesses going, really, and going to events." But it's hard work being consistent
Although
on
a
socials.
huge number of people in the property industry don't think social media is important from the
It
marketing
blows
point
it,
of
but
view.
I mean, it's free
Crazy, right?
advertising.
Where's the vibe name come from?
So going back to when I was describing the business that I wanted to have, I ended up saying, I just wanted to have family vibes and, this vibe, and that word just kept coming into it. And then I was like, bing,
It's a cool name.
finance. Thank you. Yeah,
cool name.
I love it.
So is Kim McGinley happy?
Oh my God, that's a really good question. No.
Bit out of the blue, sorry.
No, it's been, I'm getting there.
But you're not unhappy?
No, I'm not unhappy. I'm happy in a sense that I'm proud of what I've done and what I'm doing. I've got a lot of more work to do on myself to life is so short. I do not want to be known for just working.
You mentioned that several times, life is so short. Is there a pivotal moment that you suddenly thought, do you know what, I'm just working, or did something happen outside that made you think? A
combination of that. Yeah, and also there was a young friend that we lost before in December, just out of the blue. She was only like 35 years old. So, and I hear about this more and more now. And it's just remembering that I'm working towards a future goal that might not be there. What if I'm not around in 5 years? So I'm also trying to balance living in the moment more. I want to travel with my family and create memories.
So what legacy do you leave then?
What legacy? I'd love to leave them, obviously, a monetary legacy to help
but
them.
as in, the general legacy, not just money. But what do you get remembered by? Either by your kids, your husband, your friends, the industry. What do you get remembered by?
My humour, my openness, my spontaneity. I don't think you'll just meet anyone. Failure's just not a thing for me, and I'm just I'm going for it.
Working hard.
Brilliant.
Without taking in all the noise. I've taken in so much noise, and now I'm blocking it out. And
hopefully you're moving that dial closer to the happy dial.
I hope so, yeah. It's not that I'm unhappy. I do need to stress that, but it's not where I want it to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Incredible.
Another brilliant journey, another brilliant guest. No, you are, seriously. And hopefully, again, we use the word all the time, people will be inspired.
Yeah,
I hope so.
Totally. Kim, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. Thank you for being so open and honest. Pretty easy for people to get hold of you, isn't it? Just either Instagram, LinkedIn, and whether it's to be inspired, talk about the journey, get involved in Hard Hat to Heels or anything, they can just reach out to you. But of course, if they want finance as well, you're definitely there to help and support.
Yeah.
And if someone's got a big thing coming up, a speech, and they're really nervous about it, I know you weren't before you stepped onto stage and you were given the mic, and then obviously your mindset changed. Can they reach out to you just to say,
Well, if they
any
want a great
tips,
speaker,
any guidance? But particularly those that are gonna, maybe they're not used to public speaking, they're not used to going and doing a radio interview. Can they reach out to you just for a bit of hand-holding advice?
Yes, about anything. Like yesterday, I said to you on the way here, posting my stories and getting all those messages, and it was so nice. It reinforced me why I'm posting it. So any messages like that, if I can help in any way, I will.
Brilliant.
Thank you. Kim, thank you so much for coming on. Russell, that's episode 40.
I know, what's
On
next?
to 50.
I guess onto 100.
Well,
maybe. We'll see.
we have got, I think it's now 14 or 15 guests booked in coming up through the rest of the year. We've got some amazing people coming to tell their story, and we just hope to keep inspiring.
And is it worth saying that we are going to pivot every now and again, by the way? I think it's worth mentioning this. So obviously we are property people. This is very much a property podcast, and we love that, and we love this being niche. But every now and again, you come across people, again, as Russ was saying earlier on, that you kind of you meet in life and you think, oh, wow, we've got to get you on the podcast. I think in future, we're going to start to have the occasional person that's not directly linked to property, but they are business people with a journey and, you know, with something interesting and exciting to talk about, again, that you'll be inspired by. So watch out for that in the next few episodes. We've got one or two in particular lined up that I think are going to be very, very entertaining indeed.
Yeah, looking forward to those. It's going to be a fantastic rest of 2025. So it just leaves me to say it's good night from me.
It's good night from him.
Good night.